Welcome to Awakening and Relating.
I'm Kayla.
And I'm Brad.
Join us as we unpack deep awakenings, conscious relating, and further awakening through intimacy.
Yeah. Welcome back, everybody, on Awakening and Relating. Today, the topic is going to be masculine and feminine and the embodiment of, and I think a little bit of a call out on some of the things that we hear out there. I'm not going to name any names, but we were listening to a podcast earlier today, and it was triggering to say the least, because it sends people off on this epic search for something that's already here. And it just, I don't know, for me, I mean, I guess you can jump through all the spiritual hoops that you want if that's your path. I don't think there's a wrong way. I think every manifestation is correct, and every expression of those manifestations is also correct. But we were listening to something about specifically masculine and feminine energies, and you and I both had similar thoughts on it, right?
Yeah, but it was more so about like the way that it was being portrayed was that you almost have to like be in your feminine to pull out the masculine, and then bringing in like the extra spiritual labels. Yeah,
the spiritual labels of like, you got to have like, for you to have a king, you have to be a queen. And like it to me, it gets absolutely ridiculous, because is everybody a king? Is every man a king and every woman a queen? And if that's the case, what does that even mean? Right? Like, if everyone is special, like, right, what does that mean? You're unique, just like everyone else. So I find a lot of, and again, I mean, yeah, I guess I am calling people out at this point, but it seems really odd to me how much of this woo-woo spiritual gymnastics that people buy into. I think it's simply because of the ego structure, because the ego structure wants something to attain, right? It wants a prize or a goodie or a goal, and it prefers achievement over beingness, because it can't, quite frankly, just be, right? And so a lot of what I'm seeing out in the communities out there is really feeding the ego structure in such a way that it's just going to make it harder to awaken. Like, if you're off on a search for your divine feminine, right? Like, that means you have all these steps, right? Depending on how deep you want to go with it, right? How many steps do I have to take to express as a divine feminine, right? How many steps do I have to take to express as a divine masculine? And I recognize that both masculine and feminine energies run through all forms, right? But that being said, this thing is an expression of masculinity, just like that is an expression of femininity. There's no way it cannot be.
Well, I think people get so caught because there's been like this trend lately of being more feminine or being more masculine. Then in relationship, like, if your partner is not displaying the traits of masculine, that it's because you're not feminine enough, and things like that. Your man can't express as masculine because you're not feminine enough to allow his masculinity. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. What you are is already here. It is the most immediate thing in experience itself. And it is either expressing or manifesting as a feminine form or a masculine form. And there are going to be levels in every being as to how that's expressed. But you are absolutely the embodiment of divine feminine, just like I'm the embodiment of divine masculine. But these are just labels. What everybody is searching for, if they are in fact on the search for enlightenment or freedom or liberation or moksha, whatever, if they're on the spiritual path and they're searching, this is kind of the challenge with the seeker to begin with, is seeker energy gets you caught in these ongoing loops of searching, right? When the thing you're searching for is already here. Right. Because before, it's using this as an example, like before coming into spirituality, it's just like, oh, okay, I'm this and that, and now I'm entering this field of spirituality, and now I have to focus on being feminine enough, being masculine enough, bringing those aspects and roles into adding more.
Right, adding more. And what it is it's building like you had an egoic thought process of who you were prior. And then now that you're spiritual, you're trying to then embody this new masculinity or this new femininity, and it walks and talks and looks like this. That's horseshit. That total horseshit. Yeah, I mean, this is already it. It's already unfolding. Something else we heard today that kind of threw me for a loop. It's like the universe wants you to find your most divine expression, right? The universe wants this. The universe wants for nothing.
Oh, and it's getting caught in the purpose that we must
purpose
live
too.
For a purpose.
Yeah. Like you can't be in relationship fully if you haven't defined or found your purpose.
I will say there is the piece that comes in for me with that is the attraction. Like I experienced something with you when in the beginning of our relationship when I was less attracted to you because I had felt like you weren't doing anything, like just kind of like living day by day and all. And I can say that like once you started to do more with the church and then working with Hape, that it was kind of like I experienced like more desire for you because you were starting to be in those.
But is that checklist based? I mean, it sounds like it is. Is that based on like, even if it's a subconscious checklist, right? Like somebody you would be attracted to would meet these qualifications.
Well, it's also like the conditional.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But back to the purpose piece, what I think they were talking about again was that the divine masculine, and he can do this in relationship, they said. So at least I'll give them that. But they're like, if the divine masculine does not find his purpose, right, in life, then he can never fully connect or fully express. And I mean, I think that's total shit. Because there is no wrong way to manifest or wrong way to express. All of this is building it. First of all, it's pedestalizing spirituality and saying that there are stages that make you better than another, right? So there's something to achieve. There's somewhere to go. Because if you're where you're at now and you're not what these people just told you, then you're not good enough. And you have to continue to work to be good enough. And that's just wrong. If you find yourself in or out of relationship and starting to get in relationship and you have a deep, profound connection with that person, it has nothing to do with how expressive your masculine or your feminine is. Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
If you find like you could be attracted to anything that you want. And that's not incorrect. This is already it, and it is perfect, and it doesn't want for you. The universe doesn't, God, whatever you call it, doesn't want anything. It's not a wanting thing. It doesn't need anything. You don't have to find a purpose. This is already the purpose. This is already unfolding, and it's already perfect. Now, how you feel inside, that's different, but awakening isn't something that you find. It's simply a shift in your perspective from the feeling that you're the voice in your head to a deep recognition that you are simply aware and you are completely neutral to all of the things that seem to be projected onto nothingness, right? But there's something there, right? You can't say much about it, but it's there and it's you and it's free. So why are we chasing our divine feminine, our divine masculine? Why the chase?
Well, because it's something to do.
Right. It's something to do, right?
Something to do.
Yeah, because the ego structure doesn't like doing nothing.
Which kind of like it makes me think like they say that the masculine frame is like is part of the masculine frame. And
the feminine's receiving, right?
But is that necessarily true? Or, I mean, but then again, we're just making it all up anyways, right, because exactly. There's no words.
Right. There's no words for it, right? It's ineffable. The thing that can never be said because it's so immediate, right? And if you feel into this space inside of you, the thing that's already here, that doesn't have an opinion or labels, that doesn't judge, it's simply aware. It's not itself masculine or feminine. It's just aware. So why are we chasing our divine masculine and feminine around? Like we got to embody and express in some way that is different than we already are. I mean, do you see the wild goose chase? Like, but so many people out there, especially on Instagram and YouTube, are just espousing this, like, you have to embody this, you have to embody that. It's all horse shit.
Well, it's just getting caught in the aspects of it, like you said, going back to like the seeker. It's like, okay, now I'm in this levels, and now I need to do something here, and this satisfies that doing, that growth, rather than just
being. You know, and there's nothing wrong with seeking. I mean, I did it hardcore for like 5 years. Like I really leaned into seeker mode, and I was like, I want more. I can figure this out, right? So there's nothing wrong with it. I just think that when people go out there and express themselves into the world as experts on spirituality, and they're telling people that they have to do more, do more, do more, I think we're setting a bad precedent. Like, I mean, Advaita Vedanta is basically the ceasing of doing. You know, it is non-duality. And if you look in most mystical teachings, this is where they land at. There's the Bhagavad Gita, the Ashravaka Gita. There's a bunch of Gitas out there. But the further you go down the line, the same thing in the Upanishads, the further you go, the closer you get to oneness. And oneness doesn't have an other. And there's nowhere to go to get it. Nirvana exists, but no one who attains it. It's already here now. It's just for a persona, it's impossible to grasp, and it can't be held in the mind. So all thoughts are already a step too far, right? All the sensations happen on the neutral screen of awareness, right? Or the neutral space of awareness. And so, yeah, back to the call outs. I'm sure it's going to ruffle some feathers.
But it's not really a call out. It's just bringing awareness to more truth.
Yeah, I think so. But
the neutral, the boring truth.
Yeah, right. I love the way you said that, because it is so ordinary. Like it's the thing that has always been with you. Like whether you're having thoughts or not, having emotions or not, experiencing through the sense perceptions or not. It is always with you. It has never turned off. It is always online. And it is the most primary, fundamental, most immediate thing that you can experience. And so, yeah, I just wanted to help people get back on track, as it were, if they are truly looking for freedom. It's not found in a deeper 3D world expression of what society or the community that you're part of says is masculine or feminine, right? Same thing with purpose.
In a way,
it's not wrong.
Well, maybe this is just, it's like this is happening, but maybe it's really kind of like a gateway to bring people into more, but it's hard because then it's like you're setting people up for something that they don't know what they're...
Right. I don't want to say you're setting them up for failure, but that's why I mentioned earlier the wild goose chase, right? I think for some, the chase may be necessary. You know, there was a long time in my path where I was a seeker, and eventually that seeker energy subsides and you start to recognize beingness as your fundamental nature, the truest thing there is. The only thing that's undeniable is that I am here. And it's before the I. It's just here. And again, I think the community, the spiritual community as a whole kind of gets wrapped up in this. I have to do more practices. I have to do more. I have to sit with more plants. I have to, sit with more substances. It's going to be on my next yoga retreat, my next this, my next that. And they're missing what's already here now. And I love how Eckhart Tolle pushes only the power of now. Like his whole shtick is about now. And Ram Dass too, for the longest time, was professing the the beauty in being here now, fully here now, right? Not lost in thought, not dragging a past, not projecting a future, right? Being fully present in this moment and experiencing what is here, right? At its core. And so, I mean, if you're going to listen to anyone, I would listen to people out there that are expressing how, ways to get into the now, into this moment, right? Because if you're going on a wild goose chase to experience or express your masculine or express your feminine, thinking that you're not already it, do you see the challenge we've laid before us, right? Now there's all these extra steps, and like, just skip the spiritual gymnastics, as Muji would say. Skip them. Just be here now. Ram Dass said, be here now, and there are no problems. He's right on. I mean, it's right on. I think another challenge with the whole spiritual aspect of life is that the ego structure is based in doing, and there's plenty of good pointers out there, right? Deeds exist, but no doers are found. Hindus
and trying to figure it out.
And oh God, trying to figure it out. I did too. I'm guilty of this. I did too. For years and years, I would tell myself that I'll figure this out.
I really like figuring things out.
Well, Brad does too. Brad loves figuring things out. Likes a good puzzle. But what human doesn't? I mean, we have a whole genre of movies that are based on mysteries, right? We have tons of games, and you can buy puzzle boxes that cost $10,000, and it's a box that you move little levers and dials, and because we love the figuring it out. But the figuring it out is of the mind. Beingness is not trying to figure. It's not trying to do anything. It's not going anywhere. It doesn't need to understand. It simply is. But yeah, when somebody starts to become spiritual, I mean, you also see it in that role that we talked about, like embodying the masculine, and you see people start to embody their spiritual role. It's difficult, because I just went through this not even started when you and I were doing the social media conversations, like, Brad, I need your help. And I'm like, this is who I am. This is what I will and won't do. And it's once again, the ego structure knows how to continue to rebuild itself, and it does level up with you. So you'll find yourself at times sinking back into the egoic mindset and being jerked around by thought patterns and, visiting memory and, projecting a future. And that's okay. It's just, again, what are we doing to help people really get there? Are we telling them that, they need to do these 10 things? Or, if you're feminine and you don't have a deep connection with your man, it's probably your fault because you're not expressing fully in your feminine. That's crazy. That's sending somebody off on a huge journey for no good reason, for no good reason. You're already the expression of the divine feminine. You're already it. You can't not do it.
Well, I think it's just it's just become the popular thing, and people are selling on it. And
come take my course, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And then even the word, the label, queen, I used to use it when writing in my business a couple of months ago, and then I kind of just never really resonated with it, and I stopped. And because what does that mean?
Well, it's a role, right? It's a role, and so that role comes with definitions, right, and labels. What would a queen act like? How would a queen express in the world? How would a queen show up? How would she walk and talk and act? And it's a role. It is a role, just like father or mother or cop or astronaut. It is a role. And so if you believe your role, you'll express that role. And
then you're just getting caught in more roles.
Way lost in the game, right? So now you're just a spiritual queen, right? Lost in the role, lost in the game, telling everybody that you're spiritual and you're free. Really? Same thing with the king, right? I'm a king. I'm a god, I'm the embodiment of God. Of course you are. You always have been. Saying it doesn't change anything, right? Telling everybody that you're spiritual doesn't change anything. You're already doing it. You can never not do it. Buddha said when he awakened, simultaneously all other beings awakened. And I believe what he was pointing to there is that nothing's really asleep. awareness is online in every living thing to more or less degree. Like a tree is less aware than a dog is. A dog is less aware than a human is. But it's online at all times, in every instance, every second, every experience, every situation, expression. It's always there. So it's not looking for anything. It's the human mind and the persona that goes on the search. And then, you know, like you were just saying, like the king, the queen, the role, right? And then we feed that even more and say, hey, no, you are a queen. Like, and then so in your head, you're going to be like, oh, a queen would express this way, right? Mm.
Express that way. It gets tricky though, because it's like you could almost use that as a game with yourself in a way. So when I was looking for partners in relationship, it was kind of like I had up-leveled in my head to like whatever label of what I was worthy of accepting in relationship and like the kind of treatment that I wanted. And it's often labeled as like queen treatment or this kind of treatment, but really it's kind of just the bare minimum, like what should be, because we've transitioned into like treating each other at such a unintentional like lack of connection. We're in like this era of where if you're not together, you're just sleeping with each other and then saying goodbye.
Situationships, right? Yeah, that's a whole nother thing too.
Yeah, so in a way you can almost use that like, oh, I'm deserving of like queen treatment, and in that you can switch your head to say, okay, if I am deserving of this following this label, then I'm going to accept this and deny that.
Right.
But it's like, can you remove that and be that without the role, the label?
Right. Yeah, I mean, and that is I think that what you're saying is pointing to the true embodiment of the one, or, you know, spirituality itself, but that's got some clause in it too. But it's however you're expressing is the right way to express, however your manifestation has come across. You know, do you got like, I mean, I got small hands, right? I'm kind of a tiny
petites.
Yeah, petites, right? I'm kind of a tiny grown man. You know, and it used to bother me when I was younger. I used to freak out. I'd go to the gym constantly. I was like, I got to get bigger. I got to get bigger. But there's nothing wrong with the manifestation, right? It is what it is. This is the way I showed up this time, you know, and the way it expresses is fine as well. At a certain point in the journey, it seemed to awaken from some sort of odd sleep, but that's not even really the case. Awareness was never offline. It's just, it's not recognized because the clutter and the chatter in the mind is so aggressive and strong that you lean fully into that and you believe that. And that's what, again, going back to these roles of king and queen and divine feminine and divine masculine, it's just another chain in, you know, link in the game, right? Like you're even if you were getting closer to letting go and setting yourself free, by leaning into these things, and especially when you're espousing them to the world, right? You're just saying that, like, I'm a queen, I'm a king, you know, like that to me is getting yourself really wrapped up in it. But it really doesn't matter what you say. I used to say that Brad is a story, and that is a totally true statement. But then do I start to believe that Brad is a story and express that as part of my new egoic structure?
Well, everything is a story.
Everything is. Right. Because what's not of the mind is just experience itself, right? It's not keeping score. And so, you know, I just want people to know out there that whatever you are, wherever you are, however you feel on the path is the right space to be in. It's fine. There's nowhere else to go to find it. It's already here now. It's already you. And it's free to express how it wants to express. And that's beautiful. The problem is our judgment of it, our labeling of it, our definitions or symbology. You know, the Tao says that when one recognizes beautiful, it creates the ugly, right? And what it's pointing out is that in duality, which is what we exist in, that as soon as you recognize something to be good, you create the bad, right? As soon as you recognize something to be right, you create the wrong. Because how could you know right without wrong? How could you know good without bad? Everything that we know, all of our labels and definitions are based in opposites. So, yeah. I'd caution people about getting caught up in the games of spirituality, because it's not wrong. It's just you're going to spend the next 10 years unraveling the new game that you've chosen to play, you know, or 20 years. Why waste your time? So today we've talked a little bit about roles and purpose. Purpose was another one. But I think it all started back with the masculine and the feminine, right? And to be very clear, the masculine and feminine flows through all things. If you're in a male body, you will likely express more masculine than you will feminine, but that will also shift at times.
Well, you know, the thing is there even, because it's created by us, labelized by us, we don't even know like what it actually is. It's only something that we're creating.
Sure.
To
right.
be.
It's
like
of the
you
mind.
don't even, what is even the truth of it?
Right. What is the truth of it? Exactly. Like I usually make us breakfast, right? Is that a masculine or feminine thing, right? Do we start to labelize it like you say? You're
not like super masculine,
right,
brawny guy.
Right. Yeah, I'm not pounding on my chest and getting in fights all the time and trying to
and then certain aspects of the relationship, I'm kind of more of the masculine one, because I'm like, I need this structure, I need this to be this way, and I'm just like ready to go all the time. So if we are going into those labels, like there's definitely moments where we kind of flop.
Well, I think that's...
and do things, because the energies of it, not the outward appearance or whatever, it's just the energies of it, because that's all they are, potentially, is just energies, and whatever label we categorize them with is what it is.
I think you're right. And that's like, they would say the feminine is more nurturing, the masculine's more doing. And I think you're absolutely right. Like, the expression of both of those energies comes through us differently.
Well, and the feminine is more being. So if we are just being in awareness, then essentially all we are is being feminine at that level.
Right. Well, if we use the label, then sure.
Yeah.
But beingness itself is not masculine or feminine. Like if anyone out there has leaned into their being and set in that space of neutrality, you notice real quickly that whatever that is isn't expressing at all. It is just the awareness that is observing whatever expression seems to be written on top of it, right? Or in the space of it.
That's what I'm saying, is so that if we were going to categorize the spaces that you're talking about, there wouldn't even necessarily be a masculine.
Right. There's not, right? It just... in
would
nature,
just be one.
Right. There's just one. And then it expresses as a multiplicity of forms. And then those forms are embodied in a either male or female body or form. And then they express more often based on the gender, right? That if you're male, you more often express in a masculine way, but that's not always the case. And if you're female, you'll more often express in a feminine way, but that's not always the case. And at times, like you were saying, those roles will switch, right? I'll do something that's, more feminine, and you'll do something that's more masculine. But it doesn't undermine our connection.
Am I only a woman? Am I a woman, or am I just a soul in a female body? If I was in a male body, would I be the same?
Well, I think absolutely. Like, it wouldn't matter where you are, like, because consciousness is consciousness, right? But I like to say that, and other people have said this, so this isn't, mine solely, but people will say, well, I have a soul. I think it's the other way around. I think we're in the soul. Like a soul is not in me. I'm in the soul, right? Or I'm in God. God's not in me.
Especially because if you say, I have a soul, is that what you just said?
Right. I have a soul, right? They see the ownership.
And then it's in us, then we're calling ourselves the body.
Right. We're saying that I'm the body, and in the body, I have the ownership of the ego again, like it's mine. It's mine. And that, like, again, there's nothing wrong with these things. It's just, it puts people on a search that takes them the really long way around. Like, to sit in your beingness is not really hard. It seems hard because the mind won't shut up. So if you meditate, that helps, right? If you do yoga, that stuff can help. But you can feel into it literally right now. It doesn't even matter when you choose to awaken. That moment will be now. There is nothing but now. And it's not multiple nows. It's always now. It's not like there was a now this morning and this is a different now. Same now. So whenever you wake up, it'll be now. So might as well just do it now. Just feel into what's most immediate in your experience, what's already here, before thought, before emotion, before sensation. And then stay there. Stay there as long as you can. Freedom.
Thanks for joining us on Awakening and Relating.
Please like, share, and subscribe.
See you next week.